like this, I always carry it with me.
Come out with your hands behind your head.
I'm calling security. What is this? Trevor, my man. Keith.
Nice to meet you, Keith.
Heard a lot of great things. Great things.
Mr. Catano.
Surprise.
We're getting a chance to talk to an actor who's going to be on Magnum P.I, but he is dynamic, he is diverse, and he has been in films from Asia to the United States, and it is so wonderful to have Rich Ting with us. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, but it's kind of like homecoming because you were here in Hawaii for quite a while.
And it is a homecoming, for 100%. Growing up, I was able to split my time as a kid. My parents, we had extended family here, so every summer, every holiday we were always, in Honolulu. And then it wasn't until in 2003 that I was able to actually move here permanently for grad school.
Okay, so I'm talking to pretty much a local boy then, because it's like...
Well, I don't want to offend anyone. You know what I mean? Because, when I was young, growing up in California and then coming here, it was very odd for me because even though I'm a LA native and I went to high school in San Francisco, I always felt at home here. So at all respect, I always consider myself local in that terms, But as far as, I know there's so much, the Ohana here is so strong, and I never wanted to disrespect that or cross that line. So I always say I'm an honorary local guy here.
I'll take that. Okay. How was your time at the University of Hawaii?
Oh, it was, there's no words. It was a blessing. That's what I always say. Just because, having gone to Yale on the East Coast, I told my parents, I was like, you know what, I need therapy, West Coast therapy. So at first I thought I was going to end up back in LA in law school or business school, and then got the opportunity to come to UH to go to both Richardson and Schindler at the same time. And the relationships that not only Hawaii, but the grad schools has offered me and that have continued to this day, I mean, it's been a blessing. That's why I call it that.
I'm wondering why you went to pursue a law degree. You're so dynamic in your acting abilities, but you picked law to do there at school. Why so?
I think I was in denial. Having being the oldest, let me start that, of an orthopedic surgeon and having two younger brothers, I had to kind of set the path, So I was given that famous speech where, you're going to do this. You're going to take your pre-meds, you're going to, major in this. And my rebellious move up until that point was that I majored in humanities while doing pre-med. And then I had the conversation with my dad that I want to do law because I was really curious about about the legal field and why not do an MBA if given the opportunity, And so the acting was always in the back of my head, to be honest. I had the bug at a really early age. Just growing up as an athlete my whole life, playing football at Yale, and that was life. There was no room for the arts, and so it wasn't until I got here where I didn't have football meetings after class. I didn't have training table. I didn't have workouts. I was doing 2 programs, but there was a big chunk in between. So I can only surf so much. I can only work out so much, right? I can only eat so much. So then at that point, I really started diving in. I'd started taking classes before I got to Hawaii, but, I always say it was like my yoga back in the day. I just always exercised that craft kind of privately, and that was kind of like my me time is what I call it.
So you go through the University of Hawaii, you graduate from here, you go back to Los Angeles, and you tried to get work there in LA.
Yes.
How was that?
It was challenging because, there are not a lot of LA natives that are in the Hollywood industry, which is kind of odd because you would think, oh, it's in your backyard, it should be easier. I stood in line. I had no idea what to do. Where do I get a headshot? How do I get an agent? Luckily, I have family that are on the stunt side of Hollywood, stunt coordinators. I have cousins and uncles, and them knowing my let's say athletic ability and my martial arts background and my overall look, they were always very willing to help me get into the business from the stunt side. Having survived 4 years of collegiate football and not being too severely injured, I wasn't going to now go step in front of a car gonna take a fall out of a building, gonna put myself on fire kind of thing. So initially I kind of frowned on the stunts side of things, but looking back, I decided to just dive into the fire, really, you know, because it's weird. People that are in the business don't understand this. When you train as an actor in a studio, when you take classes, when you do all this prep, nothing prepares you for a real set when you get on location for a big studio and there's a 150-person crew there and you're opposite A-list act. No one prepares you for that experience. It doesn't matter how long you're in class. So I took the stunt opportunity to get me on a set, to learn the etiquette, to basically be a sponge and like kind of like a fly on the wall and just observe and learn. And honestly, it was the most humbling introduction to this crazy business, you know, just because I saw it from a different perspective entering it. So now, you know, coming, you know, to the present time where now I'm on the acting side of it, I have a tremendous amount of respect for not only the crew, but the stunt department, because without those two departments, the cast, we're nothing, you know? So that's kind of how I got into the business initially in Hollywood.
So you get to a point where you're thinking, okay, maybe you have to take a different road. What makes you go and follow film to Asia?
I made a decision early on, I think in about 2008, that I just said to myself at that time, being a new face, being an Asian American male actor in Hollywood, Hollywood's not going to look in their backyard for me. You know, if they want an Asian guy, they're going to go to Asia because that person in Asia is going to bring a following. You know, this is at the very forefront of social media. So there wasn't a lot of like, you know, how many followers are you going to bring to this show or what's your following, literally. So it was kind of an epiphany I had, to be honest. I was like, you know what, the first chance I get to go to Asia, I'm going to take that opportunity. I'm going to go there. I like to say, I always use the term, I wanted to make some noise there. Loud enough for producers, showrunners, studio execs to get wind of me back in Hollywood. And then I would come back. That was just this idea I self-created in my head. And so when I did get this random opportunity to go to Southeast Asia to film in a pretty large budgeted feature film, I said, this is the calling, you know? So it was weird. I wasn't manifesting then, but I think I was subconsciously. And opportunities started happening according to this crazy plan I created in my head.
You know, we always think of things here as being America-centric. You know, how does, you know, Asian Americans, how do you get into the business? How do you get hired and get working here? But what was the reverse of that? How did the Asian public in Asia perceive an American actor coming over and doing things?
That's a fantastic question because a lot of people don't see it through that perspective. Initially, I went to Southeast Asia. I went to Vietnam. I'm not Vietnamese by blood, and that gave me a very unique perspective that has kind of repeated itself throughout my experiences in Asia. And what I mean by that is coming into Vietnam as a non-Vietnamese American, or Viet Q as they call them, they received me with open arms, you know, because in every home country that I've traveled to as far as in Asia, whether it's Japan, China, Korea, Vietnam, there's a sense of pride with like, for example, with the Koreans in Korea. And when Korean Americans, and this is just my perspective, so I don't want to offend anyone out there, but when I see that when Korean Americans, for example, go to Korea, the Korean industry, the film industry, obviously it's booming now, but back then, you know, the amount of pride and culture and just respect they have for their own culture and their own people, let's say, that are born and raised there, you know, they have this attitude where we have our actors, we have our talent, you know, but when a foreigner comes in, literally, I've noticed that in every country I've worked at, they're a little bit more open-minded about that. And so when I went to Vietnam, obviously I'm not Vietnamese, but they treated me as if I wasn't even Asian. I was American, you know? And so they welcomed me, they hosted me, and then this repeated itself, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years later when I ended up going to Korea for work. But that was a different experience because I'm mixed Chinese and Japanese, so that translates sometimes to Korean wherever I go, just because of that blend. And I've been getting it my whole life. People always think just physically I look Korean. So when I went to Korea, it was like I got met with, you know, I had to buy into the culture, which I totally did because, you know, that's something I learned in Hawaii, and I can talk about that a little bit later. But just going to another place and really respecting their house, let's say, And when people found out I wasn't Korean, they were like, wow, like what is a fourth generation Chinese, Japanese, Asian American doing in Korea, learning Korean, or in Vietnam, learning Vietnamese, and wanting to be here. And if anything, they get excited about it. And I couldn't have been welcomed in in all the countries. And that just repeated itself, and then now when I come back to Hollywood and I'm doing the things that I'm doing in Hollywood, I owe everything to those experiences prior to my career kind of booming over here.
Well, that's kind of a testament to you, because that's a lot of passion study. I mean, they're studying because you have to, because you get the grade, but you're studying things that you're getting into heart and soul that have to do with acting, with learning different languages and different nuances culturally between all these different countries that you're going to.
Totally. And, I think that's something actually at the core I learned here, just because coming to Hawaii at such a young age and as a child, and just seeing the love and respect that the local people here have for the land and for the culture. I always felt that I was being welcomed into someone else's house. So I have to respect that house. So I may not have been conscious of that like age 5, right? But I just knew there was a certain etiquette and certain mannerism me as a LA kid had to bring here in order to be quote unquote accepted. And I love this place. This place has always been my second home. So why would I ever want to ruin that relationship? And when I realized when I went to Asia for work, I brought that same mentality, which is, it's my choice to go to your country. You're not forcing me to come here. No one's forcing me to come back to Hawaii. It's my choice. And because of that, why would I ever want to disrespect anything about someone else's other house? And so I've taken that mentality everywhere I've gone in the world. And the love that that people give me in Hawaii has been reciprocated elsewhere. And so that's why I always say this place is just it's a gift, and I've learned so much without even knowing I was learning back in the day.
That's amazing. You decided to come back to the United States and re-enter film. Well, actually, you're kind of going back and forth, but you decide to concentrate, and you're getting roles. You're looked at as the new not even up and coming. You are the new thing. I hate to put that as that, but you
I'll
are
take
the new actor person that is, that you're going to, and you're playing so many different roles. I was thinking all action packed, intense, and the roles you have are intense. Bolo in Warriors, some of the other ones that you are doing right now are just amazing. And then yet you're on Tommy on CBS, and you're playing a real heartfelt, softer character as in a relationship with another man that's looking to adopt a child, and that brings a whole nother set of emotions. You're really running the gambit of the table here, it seems.
That's just something that I've been fortunate enough to have those opportunities. A lot of times actors, we get typecasted, we get stereotyped. In the beginning, work is work, right? So we'll take, we're all hungry in the beginning as far as, what comes our way, and you just want to book and book and book and just build up that resume. But after a while, that can sometimes be a little bit dangerous, because if you continue to book the same type of roles, you kind of get stuck in this niche. How I train as an actor back in LA, I actually don't train on action at all. I train on comedy. I train on drama. And now finally, I've been able to quote unquote showcase, those other layers that I call them, that really is the core of my craft. I think so much in Hollywood is based on certain stereotypes and profiling, obviously, and we're working to break through those barriers like as we speak. But being Asian, being a male, being of my stature, my physicality, it kind of already puts me in a certain action kind of genre. So like you said, working on a show like Tommy, across from Edie Falco, and playing a gay husband, adopting a child from China, that, even though it was one episodic, that has been one of the pinnacle moments of my career. Just because not only was I completely honored to represent the gay community in that, and to kind of break down those stereotypes of being an Asian gay man that is the alpha male in a relationship, opposite a Caucasian man. I thought that was a huge win for my team and myself, and then to play the softer side and to show that, that compassion that all my friends know I have, right? That's why it's funny when I meet fans of Bolo and stuff, and I appreciate all the love that show has gotten me. I think a lot of fans are thrown off, because yeah, every character is a part of me, but not. I don't think there's one character yet that is 100% Rich Ting, you know. And so, you know, my team's goal is to just showcase those other colors that I have. And recently, we've been getting the opportunity to do that. So I couldn't be more thrilled with the stuff coming out.
You are here to play a recurring role on Magnum PI.
Yes.
Here to film. What does that mean to you to be back here in Hawaii doing this show?
It's meant everything. I mean, I've been in the business, I think about 11, 12 years now, and this has been my first opportunity to come back to Hawaii to work. I get speechless about this question because there's so much depth to this answer, and I don't think I could sum it up in a couple minutes. But you know, I know this place. It's family to me, 100%. And before booking Magnum, I already knew how the experience was going to go. I already knew how the local crew was going to be. I already knew how excited my friends and family were going to be. You know, I get emotional thinking about it because it's exactly how I imagined it, and I knew it, and that's what made me want it more than any other show. You know, was because not only would it be a homecoming for me, but there's so many people here rooting for me, you know, and they've been rooting for me. And so to come back and be like, look, I started here as a kid. I've done a lot of different things. I came back for law school and business school. I left again, and now I'm doing my dream job in like my dream city with my friends and family around, you know, and I'm able to share that with my wife. I'm able to take her to all these places to eat. I'm able to introduce her to all these friends that she's heard about but has never met, you know, and you know, not to downplay the show, I am flattered to be on Magnum PI. You know, there's a highly successful show right now. The ratings are phenomenal, but more importantly, you know, it's just the opportunity to be here and to take those moments to just give thanks to the island and to the people. And you know, the hardest part is making time for everyone. You know, I'm on the clock for like, you know, 8-10 days, and that's not enough. You know, I need a month. I literally do. So I'm trying my best to stay alive on the show so I can continue to come back, you know, trying to talk to the right people. And but overall, you know, it's exactly like the first day I got picked up. The driver knew one person I knew. It's his cousin. We're really good friends. And it just starts right there. I go to set. You know, the PA that's helping me, she knows someone that, you know, I went to school with. You know, the person over there in sound knows. And I'm just like, this is how I knew it, you know? And this is what I miss, because you don't find this type of love and this type of I hate to say it again, but it's family. You know, I've only been on a couple episodes, but I felt like I've been working the whole season here already. You know, and that's why I wanted to come back and work on a show. You know, it could have been any show, but I'm truly humbled to be back.
You've already been on set. How is it working with Jay Hernandez?
Oh man, what a guy! Probably the most down-to-earth actor I've had the opportunity to work with. What you see is what you get. There's no wall, as I like to say. You know, he's super conversational. We figured out we're both from LA. With Jay, we have a mutual friend that he's my best friend. He's his best friend. You know, and right there, boom, we just hit it off. You know, and it's you know, I've been a fan of Jay. You know, I was joking with him on set the other day that, you know, I first saw him in Torque back in the day, which was, you know, which is to me epic, right? And then I saw him in this other film with Paul Walker called Takers. And those two films, you know, without even knowing that I was going to have the opportunity to work with Jay, those are big films to me personally. And so now to be opposite him and to just be hanging out with him on set and working with him, and at the end of the day, you know, it's always a really nice surprise when these actors that I'm fans of, you know, that I get to work with are just regular dudes. You know what I mean? And he's, you know, again, not to downplay him, he's phenomenal as an actor, but I think he's more impressive just as a human being because he's just a good dude.
Final question for you. I know you've talked some at length about Hawaii. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about Hawaii while we got you on the microphone?
Oh, just thank you. You know, thank you for welcoming me back. You know, I always bring this topic up to all my friends and family here that I think my biggest accomplishment in Hawaii is not the JD, it's not the MBA. It's the fact that I can come back. You know, the love that everyone has for me here. You know, I always sum it up. Hawaii to me is family and food. That's it. You know, I don't need anything else. You know, it's a little ironic. I think I'm feeling a little older this trip because I haven't even gone to the beach yet. And I was an avid surfer, you know, and beach was life, surf was life, you know, and now just being, which is so ironic, right? Just being in Waikiki on the lanai in the hotel, just looking out, you know, feeling the air, smelling the air, and just, you know, hearing the chickens in the morning, the roosters, you know what I mean? It just brings back all these memories that I didn't realize at the time were so impactful to me. You know, and just driving down the street, you know, and again, showing my wife, oh, this is where we used to go, or this is where we used to hang out, or, oh man, this used to be a drive-in right here and it's gone, like, you know, and all these things. It's just, I can't be more humbled and grateful to, like I said, be welcomed back. Because again, I will never lose that respect that the local people here have for me, whether they're family or friends or whatever. And, just really blessed, man. Just really blessed. Sorry, I get emotional talking about it because this is a very epic, you know, point in my career to actually come back to the state.
It has been a pleasure not only talking to you, but also watching you as you continue to move and shake and to do in your craft that you love so much. And much continued success to you. And I got a chance to meet your wife, so much success to you and your whole family.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Rich Ting, once again, watch for him. He's going to be on Magnum PI on CBS on Hawaii News Now, KGMB.